You never know exactly what's going to show up around here, and this car is probably familiar to some of you. You've seen me working on parts of this car for a long time, and in fact there's an episode here on the discovery of this car when my buddy John brought it home. But today we're going to be working on this car. We've got a deadline, we've got some fabrication, and well, we just got stuff. We've just got stuff that we have to do, and so we're going to do it. So it's going to involve some metal and some welding and maybe a little fiberglass, and well, we just don't know yet. So let's just watch the show intro so you get an overview of all the stuff we do here, and then you can join me in 30 seconds on the other side. Don't forget, I'm Mike, and this is my car's shop.
Working out of a 100-year-old refurbished barn, bringing 35 years of experience to projects considered beyond repair. Vision, creativity, and problem solving are essential tools in this place. Watch as we transform junk into polished metal miracles. This is my car's shop.
As I said, we've got work to do on this car. This car was hit on this side. John and I worked on putting the quarter panel on it over at his place, and I helped him get everything lined up. He went ahead and welded in what he could. But there are some things here that he needs me to go ahead and do, so I had him bring the car over here just for a couple of days so I can get some things done to help him out. And plus we've got a fender over there that's roughed in that we want to put on the front of this car and get that finished up and get that on his way, because he wants to be driving this car yet this year, and he's had a lot to do. He's got the motor in, it runs, it drives, it moves, it's got brakes, so he's not far away. We may just be able to help him out here and get it moving further along. So the first thing I noticed this morning with this car is it's leaning like this, and at first I thought maybe the frame rail on the passenger's or on the driver's side was tweaked from where it was hit, but that really doesn't line up with where the car was hit. The car was hit more on the side, I think, so that's really not an issue. And I noticed that the driver or the passenger side front end is down, so I'm guessing the torsion bars are out of whack. The car needs an alignment because he put disc brakes on it and changed the front suspension out. So probably not going to worry too much about that until we get the front end done up, which he's going to try to do next week while I'm out of town. But we're going to get this thing, well, just shut up, Mike, and work, for crying out loud. All you do is talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. So we've got the fender on, and it's just roughly lined up. I've only got a couple bolts holding it in place. My door gap is pretty good. It's a little tight at the bottom, but the bottom of the fender needs to come out just a little bit. Door probably needs to come forward, maybe. I'm not sure. I got to look at the gap in the back, but the door's also sucked in too far with the striker. The fender could probably go back that way just a little bit. But I think overall, if we tweaked this bottom down here out just a little bit, the edge of this door isn't exactly perfect. I'm not sure why, but I do know that body fit was not the greatest on these cars, so it'll be what it is. But we'll do the best we can, get it lined up. There's some sanding I need to do on this yet. I never really finished it, so we got a little work to do there. But overall, it's looking good. So that's going to sit like that for now. I just wanted to get the fender on, put the hood back in place, and just make sure everything was reasonably close, and I think we are. The trunk extension isn't attached to the trunk floor yet. This part of the quarter panel needs to be kind of buttoned up, and we need to test fit this in there and make sure everything is lining up to the best of its ability. Pardon all the hissing, it's a very windy day, so all of the leaves in the trees are just making noise. Yeah. Okay. So we got a little hammer and dolly work to do here. This piece here needs to be hammered back because it's holding the tail light out. So this is why we're test fitting everything. Matter of fact, I think I need to do just some cutting here. I'm gonna go reference that side. But it looks to me, yeah, technically this is supposed to go behind here, but it can't because this is already welded on there. So I'm gonna cut this down, get that hammered back in, and that will be fine. We'll just solid weld that once we're sure it's in position. Right now the bottom of the tail light is being held out about a ½ inch. That's close. Now this piece here needs to pull way the freak back in, because that's got to line up with this, I believe. I got to do the other side and see for sure, but this curvature here needs to line up with this, and obviously right now it's not doing that very well. That needs to come in a little bit. I think we're going to have to end up remaking this piece. We'll probably have to cut it off, but I want to put the tail light on that side and see how it fits, because remember, this car was hit here. One thing I did notice yesterday, and I've looked at this car many times, and I didn't notice it until yesterday, that the trunk fork has been replaced and it's not been installed properly. It's too far forward. So what that is meaning for us is that we have a gap of about let's say a ½ inch is generous, but let's say there's a ½ inch gap back here between this rear tail pan and the trunk floor. And that's a problem, obviously. So we're just going to make a little L piece to put in there, and that won't be a problem. But I need to make sure all of this crap is lining up properly, or we have bigger issues. So let's go do that one over there and see what we got. See here, this is exactly what I'm talking about, how this lines up here. We don't have that on this side over here. Now we know that the deck lid lines up okay, so that's going to be fine. We just need to figure out how to get this in there. I don't think the quarter panel's out too far, because the deck lid lines up good. So we'll put the deck lid back on, double check that. So the issue here is this quarter panel is probably okay at the top, but the bottom of it is out about a ½ inch, so we need to get that sucked over. This little lip here should be against this inner fender well, and it's not. So I've got to see exactly what's holding us up. I suspect I know what it is. Yep, that's all it was. Okay, so we need to do a little more modification here, but not a big deal. We'll just cut this piece a little bit more to give us some room to get it in there. We will go from there. Yeah, I almost had it in place, but I think cutting some more material out of here is probably going to be the answer for that. Or not. We can't cut more material out of there because we couldn't cut more out because I couldn't get the cutoff wheel in there. I need to just take the tail light back out because it's going to fall out on the floor anyway, apparently. All the little screws are not on there. Okay, now we got it overlapped a little bit. I think that's going to do it. So we're going to need to weld there. I want to bend this piece here in a little bit more and try to get that sucked in just ever bit more. Very, very glad that John did the right thing and didn't weld this on back here because we would have had to cut everything back apart. So hopefully I don't put any dent in the quarter panel here, but we should. Oh, there's already a dent in the quarter panel there, so I guess I don't have to worry about that. Still probably better put a little piece of wood in there to spread that out a little bit. Okay, this should work. Put this in there. We got to do some blocking and dent fixing on this anyway, but no point in adding any dents that don't need to be added. Somebody already squeezed this here, you can tell. Put a little dent in there. No biggie. My other thought is to get a toe strap or a tie strap and pull that over the whole thing. And we may do that, but I'm going to try this first. Yeah, that's going to work. Just got my squeezer spread too far. Okay, let's try our taillight piece again. Hopefully. Well, look at that. Other than being out a little far, it's about as good as the other side. So all we got to do now is pound this back in. Be close. Except we got another issue here. What is our other issue? Oh, right here. Okay. Taillight housing is hitting on this right here. That helped even more. I think we're pretty close there. We got about 1/8 of an inch gap. I think that's about what's on the other side. I will go look. The only other thing is then this has got to come back in, and it will. I think we're ready to tack that in place. Boy. Still think we need to cut more material off of here. I think I'm going to take it, since I can get at it now, I think I'm going to go ahead and take another big slice off of here, even if I have to put some material back in. Much better. I would rather add material back and get everything to fit where I want it. Remember, we're dealing with collision damage. So yes, that's good. I'll show you here in just a second. There we go. That's much better. It's almost like it fits now. Yeah, and that'll push back in pretty well. I think the only way we're going to know if it fits right is to just start tacking it in and test fitting it. This is going as much by instinct as anything right now. But I can see that this needs to pull way back in more. And it can't because of down here for some reason. Something's holding it up on that new quarter panel. So, little crystal blue persuasion. There we go. Much better. This is kind of the nature of collision work. So what I need to do is push that in and tack this other piece in just a little bit here. That may be too far. There we go. Nope, that's about right. Okay, so we'll get the old welderoni over here. Push this in, tag it down here a little bit, and then start working our way up, getting that to fit in where it belongs. So you can see how nice that lines up here now. It needs a little hammer and dolly, but our goal right now is just to get it roughed. I don't want to solid weld everything. In fact, John can go ahead and solid weld it. My goal is just to get everything put back together again. So the next step now is to get a couple more nuts on this, and then I want to put the deck lid back on and make sure that everything's lining up the way it should. I think we're okay. It's hard to tell without the trunk hinges on there. I feel like it's a little bit wide up there, but it's really hard to tell unless we could actually put the trunk on and latch it. Maybe I'll see if I can get something to set under it at least so it's up in position. It's pretty good right there. Yeah, see, when I put it down, it kind of slips down. So let me find some way to hold that up. So if you see, we've got a good 3/16 of a gap on this side. So I'm pretty comfortable with that. But I think on the other side, the top of the quarter panel is pulled in just a little bit too much. So we're gonna go over there and see what we can do with that. We've got a nice wide gap up here, and it gets narrower and narrower where the other side is perfectly straight. So while we've got the bottom pulled in here, now we need to push the top out to get this gap right. So I gotta pull the deck lid back off and see what we need to do to be able to bump the top of that out about, 3/16 of an inch probably, to be generous. I think we're moving it a little bit. I've got about a little over an 1/8 inch gap there now. It's a little on the tight side. The main thing is we don't want it to chip. And this edge could be off a little bit on this deck lid. We may need to trim that back. What I did, I'll show you. I'm going to do it a bit more. What I did was I took a hammer and put a block of wood here, and I'm just banging this out. So I gained about 1/8 of an inch. I think I need a little bigger hammer, and I'll find a heavier hammer, and we'll hit that a little bit more and try to just knock this corner out just a little bit more. The gap is a little bit tighter than I would prefer, but I think overall I can live with it. I'm not showing you up there because I don't have it spaced up yet. And over here, it's not bad. A little tight down there, but that's, I think, well, for one thing, the taillight housing probably needs to shift a little bit. We may need to massage the deck lid. Remember, this isn't the deck lid for the car, so that's causing some of these issues. One thing we can do is grind this edge down here and then weld if we need to, so that's probably going to be the solution for there. But overall, I can live with that for now. When we go to paint the car, we're probably going to want to do a little more work on it, but that's a long ways out, and I think as long as it's not hitting, that's the main thing. So you can see how nicely this all lines up down here now. There's a little hammer and dolly work to do, but overall we're good. So we're pretty good down there. There's a few other things we're going to need to do. But I moved up here now, and I've done some hammer and dolly work to get this straightened out where the factory lead line was. Of course, this is where we joined the quarter panel into the original car. Got it pie sliced. This edge is pretty good now, so we need to do a little more welding in here and a bunch of grinding and get this welded in. So it's going to be a lot of little to get that done. But that's another big step forward there. So we're getting there on having the back of this buttoned up. A little bit more to do, like I said, but we're getting close. So this is welded up pretty well here. We got a real thin spot right here, and then it's missing a chunk here. And then we've also got some spots up in here that need a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is first take my cutoff wheel and just cut out a piece and just make a piece to put in there. That's gonna be a whole lot easier than chasing this forever trying to fill weld, because every time I start welding it blows through again. It's just too thin. So we got that cut out of there, like I mentioned, and good to go. We'll get a piece cut and brick and bent to put in there. And we got to do the same thing down here. It's got a big gap in here we got to fill. So I may just put a piece in there. I'm not sure. We will figure that out as we go. The only other thing we need to do, I'll show you. We need to put a piece in there, and we're just going to bend an L piece on the brake. This is because the floor, as I mentioned, was not put in properly. That's an easy fix. And then we got a gap over there that we got to fix. So I need to get a ratchet strap and hook on here and see if I can pull that. It's too tight to the quarter panel, I think. So we're going to see if we pull that over in place and get it welded in, and then put a little full piece in there. We're not trying to make it factory original. It's the driver. It's going to be a fun car and a little on the ratty side, which is what he likes. This down in here was definitely a challenge, but a fun little challenge. Collision work is it's an art form, let's put it that way. Figuring out how to piece things back together again, especially when you're using used parts like this. But it's something I really kind of enjoy doing, because you know that I'm rather twisted that way anyway. But yeah, I'm happy with where we're at. John was just here. We were looking at a couple things. There's some things he wants to check out. Get the car aligned, make sure the chassis is good and square. He'll get that done while I'm gone. And then when I get back, we'll get back together on it and get the last of it finished up. So that's going to do it for this episode. I'm not done with things, obviously, but I want to remind you that my car shop is not about project completion. It's really about you getting to come and spend the day with me in the shop, and each episode is what I've done in that day. And so some things like that windowsill or that window edge get left undone until the next time I'm out here working. That may be tomorrow, that may be 3 days from now. Well, it couldn't be 3 days from now because I'll be gone. But by the time you see this, I'll be back. So that's the way it goes, right? The magic of YouTube. Well, I appreciate you being here, spending the day with me in the shop on the things I've been working on. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, why not? You've been here a long time, you've watched a lot of stuff. I would think you could hit that little subscribe button and hit those bells so you receive notifications so that you are notified of all of the latest and greatest exciting episodes here at my car shop. We're on Facebook and Instagram /mycarshop. And yep, it's the end of the day. My delicious bride is going to be home here soon, and I need to go make some supper because it's Taco Tuesday. All right, guys, thanks for being here. Rock on.